Hello and welcome to my podcast on the apocalypse. My name is Steve. In my previous podcast, I introduced the book, The Apocalypse Letter by Letter, a literary analysis of the book of Revelation by Stephen Paul. We're now going to dive into chapter 13. For those who watched the introduction to this series of podcasts, you might recall that I said that the author of the book passed away before he could type up the second half of the book from his notes. His wife sent me his handwritten notes, and this is what I used to complete the book. And that's where we're at now. Throughout this series, I've showed you how composite figures of concrete images have been used by the prophets such as Daniel, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Isaiah to depict abstract ideas. If you've been following along, you may be getting good at deciphering them yourselves. Let's move to chapter 13 of the Apocalypse and see. On the graphic, chapter 13, verse 1 reads, "And I saw from the sea a little beast ascending, having horns 10 and heads 7, upon the horns of it 10 diadems, and upon the heads of it names of blasphemy." And here's how it looked in the author's notes. So let's examine what he had to say about chapter 13. The neuter noun therion is technically speaking the diminutive of ther, but in usage was equivalent to it. Therion means a wild animal, beast, an animal, a poisonous animal, a reptile, serpent, or a little animal. By this term, John alluded to the little horn in Daniel 7. For this commentary, however, I will simply use the term beast. Bear in mind that next to the beast ascending from the sea is the dragon, Satan, standing upon the sand of the sea. From this point on, Satan will not leave the side of the beast. Now in chapter 12, John describes Satan thus: a flame-colored dragon having heads 7 and horns 10, and upon the heads of it 7 diadems. Cross-refer the description of the dragon in chapter 12 with that of the beast in chapter 13. Behold, John reversed the order of mention regarding heads and horns, and the beast that in chapter 17 wore no diadems, now in chapter 13 is wearing 10 of them. The reason for this is stated in the latter part of verse 2. And the dragon gave to it, the beast, his power and authority. A little chart shows this more easily. We have diadems in chapter 12, 7 of them. In chapter 13, we have 10 of them. In chapter 12, upon 7 heads and 10 horns, but it reversed in chapter 13. So we go from beast in the service of Satan to Satan in the service of beast. Present participle anabanon, ascending, agrees in number, gender, and case with therion, the direct object of eidon. I saw the participle connotes continuous state or action. The prepositional phrase ektespathalesis, from the sea, signifies that he derives power and authority from the nations, especially from the confederation of the 10 kings. And this manner of phrasing is echoed in chapter 17, verse 11. So we have, is himself also an eighth and is of the 7. Hence the beast at the beginning of chapter 13 is in the state or activity of ascending from the sea, and he will continue in it until he suffers total defeat at Armageddon. It is now clear that the power and throne and great authority the beast receives from Satan himself are additional to those the beast derives from the sea, and this explains the clause in chapter 17, verse 11, which says, "And himself is the 8th." This corresponds to what was said of the little horn in Daniel chapter 7, different from those before him. The beast will become an 8th something because of Satan's decision to serve the beast. Lucifer, who declared to God, "Non serviam, I shall not serve," will now serve a mere human being. Never once in the past has Satan done this. Secular kings and their kingdoms have always served him. If the reader doubts what I have said accords with John's meaning, then let the reader check the order in which John mentioned the beast's features in chapter 17, verse 3. And I saw a scarlet beast having heads 7 and horns 10. This order of mention is the opposite of that in chapter 13, horns 10 and heads 7, but it is the same as that in chapter 12. Hence, the order of mention regarding heads and horns function as a temporal indicator. It affords the reader another means of deducing the exact sequence of events, that the contents described in chapter 13 follow immediately after chapters 12 and 17. It should now be evident to everyone that the beast at the beginning of chapter 13 assumes the additional state described as ascending from the abyss, i.e., the beast in chapter 11 and chapter 13 are one and the same entity. Similarly, the order of mention regarding heads and horns can be used to demonstrate that the 1260 days of the two witnesses and of the woman clothed with the sun and the 42 months of the beast and of the nations trampling Jerusalem are all one and the same tract of time. The beast in the vision of chapter 17 does not have diadems on its 10 horns, but does have them on its 10 horns in chapter 13. This fulfills what the angel in chapter 17, verse 12 said. Here it is. And the 10 that you saw are the 10 kings that have not yet received a kingdom, but they will be receiving authority as kings for 1 hour together with the beast. The angel was referring to the worldwide kingdom, the same kingdom which Satan offered to Christ atop a mountain. When the beast receives Satan's power wherewith to establish a global empire, the 10 kings will become his regents in that empire. Bear in mind that verses 1 through 4 describe the appearance and personal character of the beast. The beast, regarded as a whore, symbolizes the Antichrist. The 10 kings serve the beast. As a beast uses its horns for attack and defense, so the Antichrist will use the 10 kings. Therefore, though the 10 diadems are on the 10 horns, one must remember the 10 horns are on the beast. The beast, not the 10 kings, has sovereignty here. Both the dragon and the beast have 7 heads. As Satan is the maximum in evil among angels, so the Antichrist, after he receives from Satan the status of ascending from the abyss, will become the maximum of evil among men. This does not mean the maximum possible, but the maximum permissible, according to God's mysterious plan. God never acts in vain, and he will not allow evil greater than necessary to punish the rebellious and to perfect the faithful. Even so, verse 1 opens the chapter on a most ominous note, and subsequent verses resound it. The time has come, God has let loose the beast of hell. It was the visible head of Christ's body, the church, that restrained the mystery of lawlessness from culminating in the appearance of the beast. But now the dragon, having assassinated the vicar of Christ, and having at least driven the woman into isolated refuge, is permitted to set a visible head on his own worldly body. Thus, it must be these two commanders, to Therion and to Arnion, the little beast or horn against the little lamb. Satan desires a visible head for his global kingdom, because only by means of a visible supreme leader can he be most efficient in seducing souls and waging war against the Lamb and his brethren. However, it is one thing to induce 10 kings to agree. It is another thing to coordinate the activities of a much greater number of agents and agencies on a global scale. Ever since the little lamb and the brethren had dethroned paganism in the last beast, the sixth one called the Roman Empire, ever since they had beheaded it, Satan and his demons have had to use a cruder method of trying to achieve their ends, positing an agreeable object in the imagination of a human being, especially in that of a habitually unreflective, impulsive individual, may be compared to dangling a carrot in front of a hungry donkey, except that the donkey seldom fails to pursue the one carrot. But a leader whom people can see and hear, a man who can, by great natural talents, win admiration and vicarious approval, one who seemingly works signs and wonders is the leader Satan desires, and therefore is willing to serve in order to have. So great is Satan's hatred toward Christ and his church. Imagine the pain, the horrible pain, from this abject contradiction in his intellect and in the warring rage of his will. Most strictly speaking, the 10 horns mentioned in chapters 12, 13, and 17, regarded as a group, are not the 10 horns on the fourth beast in Daniel 7. It is possible, albeit unlikely, that one or more of the apocalyptic horns will be among the fourth beast's 7 horns, which the little horn in Daniel 7 will not tear away at the beginning of his ascendancy. Historically, it has most often been the case that members of a confederation have been relevant to one another because near one another, such as the members of NATO or CETO, since the basis of the relationship between the beast and Babylon the Great will be mainly wealth, and since most of the wealth of the Burning Mountain lies in the region just north, east, and south of the Caspian Sea, it seems exceedingly unlikely that the confederation of 10 kings, in entirety or part, will arise elsewhere, e.g. in Palestine or North Africa. This does not absolutely rule out that John intended to remind the reader of the 10 horns and the fourth beast in Daniel 7, for remember, the little horn will spring up in their midst and lay low 3 of them, and those 3 will be in the territory quantumly of the ancient Roman Empire and will be Islamic. Note well what was written about the apocalyptic beast in chapter 13, verse 2. And the beast I saw was like a leopard, and the feet of it as of a bear, and the mouth of it as the mouth of a lion. As far as I know, the other place where the Bible mentions these symbolical beasts, the leopard, the bear, and the lion, together in the same context, plus the fourth beast with 10 horns, is Daniel chapter 7, verses 2 through 8. In the vision I saw during the night, suddenly the 4 winds of heaven stirred up the great sea, from which emerged 4 immense beasts, each different from the others. The first was like a lion, but with wings of an eagle. The second was like a bear. After this, I looked and saw another beast, like a leopard. On its back were 4 wings, like those of a bird, and it had 4 heads. After this, I saw the fourth beast, different from all the others, terrifying, horrible, and of extraordinary strength. It had great iron teeth with which it devoured and crushed, and what was left it trampled with its feet. I was considering the 10 horns it had when suddenly another, a little horn, sprang up out of their midst, and 3 of the previous horns were torn away to make room for it. As an incidental, but no less informative note here, I direct your attention to the phrases, each different from the others and different from all the others. The succession of beasts corresponds to the succession of metals in the statue of Daniel 2. Likewise, the phrase different from the others corresponds to the successive inferiority of the metals in that statue. Each beast is different in the sense that each metal was inferior to the one before it. I explained what this meant as regards to the metals. Each succeeding empire will be more brutal than the one before it in attempting to impose idolatry on God's people. A person present in the vision of Daniel 7 said that the little horn will be different from those before him, chapter 7, verse 24. And this means that the little horn, the beast with the 7 heads and 10 horns, will be the worst of all. He will also be the last. Hippolytus, in his treatise on Christ and Antichrist, number 49, wrote, after the manner of the law of Augustus, by whom the empire of Rome was established, he, Antichrist, will also rule and govern, sanctioning everything by it, and taking greater glory to himself. For this is the fourth beast, whose head was wounded and healed again, in its being broken up, or even dismembered and partitioned into 10 crowns. And he then, Antichrist, shall with knavish skill heal it, as it were, and restore it. In his commentary on Daniel 2, Hippolytus wrote, as these things are destined to come to pass, and as the toes of the statue turn out to be democracies, and the 10 horns of the beast are distributed among 10 kings, let us look at what is before us more carefully and scan it, as it were, with open eye. The legs of iron are the terrifying and horrible beasts by which the Romans who now hold the empire are meant. The one other little horn springing up in the midst is the Antichrist. The lion, the bear, and the leopard in Daniel 7 were the Babylonian, Medo-Persian, and Grecian empires, respectively. The fourth beast was the Roman Empire, but counting from the Egyptian, as the Apocalypse does, it was the sixth beast. The beast in chapter 13 and 17 has 7 heads. It is the little horn in Daniel 7. St. Irenaeus, who died in 140 AD, held that the beast ascending from the sea in Apocalypse 13 is the Antichrist. Book 5, chapter 28, verse 2. The 3 horns which the little horn will someday seize suddenly for himself may or may not be the lion, the bear, and the leopard. Only time will tell whether I suggest about the territory of the Confederation of 10 Kings is correct, but one thing is certain beforehand. The little horn shall begin his ascendancy in what was once the territory of the Roman Empire, not the region that is now Christian, but the rest now Islamic. The 10 horns of the beast in Apocalypse 13 wear diadems. The noun diadema means a band or fillet, especially the band around the tiara of a Persian king. The Persians dwelled in a land now called Iran, and Rome's eastern front never reached farther than the Tigris River. So there are indications that the Confederation of 10 Kings will arise outside the territory once of Rome, yet they are too few to stand tantamount to a cogent argument. One must keep an open mind on the matter. I strongly suspect that the beast's symbolic components of a leopard, bear, and lion allude to the territory or general region of the same 3 beasts in Daniel 7. However, the point cannot be proved absolutely. The chief traits or characteristics of the beast are symbolized by the leopard, bear, and lion. The leopard is known for cunning, ability, and swift attack. The bear uses its clawed feet for battering and trampling, and the lion uses its powerful jaws and sharp teeth for devouring its prey. Interestingly, most of the beast is like a leopard, but only its feet are like a bear's, and only its mouth is like a lion's. Note that John mentioned the term mouth twice. To prevent confusion about the horns, keep before the mind one thing. The fourth beast in Daniel 7 was an empire, whereas the beast in Apocalypse 13 is a person who heads an empire. John surely suggests here that the apocalyptic beast will be a synergism of all the other beast qualities, a synergism potentiated to the category of the demonic or diabolical by Satan's own person. The seer emphasized that the Antichrist's dominant characteristic will be extraordinary cunning, an intelligence so sharp and swift in practice and execution of plan as will astonish many, so exemplified in Daniel 7. Suddenly another, a little horn, sprang out of their midst, and 3 of the previous horns were torn away to make room for it. Imagine the cunning and deception requisite for completing, as the text suggests, 3 coups d'etat simultaneously under the very noses of those 3 rulers, a feat that will surely impress the 10 kings. The beast's mouth, on the 7th head obviously, was as the mouth of a lion. In the Apocalypse, the lion is the symbol of the papacy, and thunder aptly is a symbol for the voice of heaven, the Pope. The Antichrist will be the vicar of Satan, and he will roar forth his false teachings and propaganda throughout the world and issue the decree of death to any and all who oppose him. Christ said that Satan was a liar and a murderer from the beginning. So will the Antichrist be a liar is to the soul, as a liar is to the soul, as a murderer is to the body. Therefore, the symbol of the lion's mouth has a double significance, to devour or to kill the soul as well as the body. Finally, the feet of the bear mean that the beast will use whatever force necessary to batter his enemies into subjection, to trample down anyone or anything that does not promote his aims, and to demolish even the very foundations of civilization, so that humanity falls into the darkest barbarism, even to sacrificing millions of victims to the beast and drinking their blood. Those who do not have the sign of God, those who do not have the names in the scroll of the life of the Lamb, will worship the Antichrist. God will permit Satan to give the beast his own power and throne and great authority, and this tells us the beast without Satan cannot do as much as he will do. The noun dynamis here does not mean simply power or might. It refers to the very nature of the person who has that power, connoting all the natural faculties, skill, and knowledge of and in that person. St. Paul used the same word in regard to Christ's power, his innate or natural ability to subject all things to himself. Hence, John's meaning is unequivocal here. Satan will be allowed to use his angelic power in service to the beast. Obviously, God will limit Satan, otherwise, in the blinking of an eye, a second belt of minute asteroids would orbit the sun where the Earth once had. The exousia, the authority or right which Satan will give to the beast, will be the opposite of Christ's authority or right. Here, John again indicates the inseparability of authority and power. The Father gave to Christ, as Son of Man, his divine task of redeeming mankind. Similar to Satan, will give the beast the task of destroying the mystical body of Christ, which continues the act of redemption. John wrote as clearly as language allows. The reader will hopefully discern what the prophet's words are, serious and solemn. The book is found at apocalypseletterbyletter.com, and the discount code is provided at the top of the page. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you and keep you.